Victoria Bennett's head felt like someone had placed it in a vise and slowly turned the handle throughout the night. The sunlight pouring through her bedroom curtains seemed deliberately aggressive, as though the universe had conspired to punish her for attending the annual Weston Industries gala the previous evening. She groaned softly, pressing her palm against her forehead, trying to will away the pounding that echoed through her skull like a drum ceremony gone. Horribly wrong. The room spun gently when she tried to open her eyes fully. Everything felt wrong. The sheets smelled different, somehow crisper and more expensive than her usual laundry detergent could achieve. Her mouth tasted like she had eaten cotton balls soaked in regret. But none of that compared to the absolute terror that gripped her heart when she heard breathing beside her. Not her breathing. Someone else's. The shocking discovery of Victoria's eyes flew open despite the immediate protest from her light-sensitive brain. She lay perfectly still for 3 full seconds, afraid to confirm what her ears were telling her. Then, moving with the careful precision of someone defusing a bomb, she turned her head toward the source of the rhythmic breathing. Nathan Pierce lay beside her, his dark brown hair falling across his forehead in a way she had never seen during their 2 years of professional interaction. His strong jawline, usually set in concentration during board meetings, looked relaxed and asleep. The Egyptian cotton sheet had slipped down to his waist, revealing a toned chest that Victoria had definitely never seen in their strictly professional relationship. Her boss. Her actual boss? The man who decided her annual bonuses, approved her project proposals, and ran one of the most prestigious tech companies on the West Coast was sleeping in her bed. Victoria's mind went completely blank. Then it filled with a rushing torrent of panic so intense she thought she might actually pass out. She sat up too quickly, and the room tilted dangerously. Her hand flew to her chest, and she realized with growing horror that she was wearing a silk nightgown she did not remember putting on. In fact, she did not remember owning anything this elegant. The awkward confrontation, Ethan stirred at her sudden movement. His eyes opened slowly, and Victoria watched as awareness flooded into his deep green eyes. She expected shock, horror, or at least confusion. Instead, she saw recognition, understanding, and something else that made her stomach flutter despite her mounting panic. He looked almost content. "Good morning, Victoria," he said, his voice carrying the rough edge of sleep, but none of the alarm that was currently destroying her ability to think clearly. "What are you doing here?" The question burst from her lips before she could moderate her tone. "Nathan, please tell me we did not do what I think we did." He sat up slowly, running his hand through his hair. The morning light caught the subtle gray streaks at his temples, making him look distinguished rather than older. He reached for his dress shirt, which was draped neatly over her reading chair, and began putting it on with maddening calm. "That depends on what you think we did," he replied, his fingers working the buttons with steady precision. "Did we sleep together?" Victoria's voice had risen to a pitch that probably disturbed neighborhood dogs. "Please tell me we did not cross that line. Please tell me I did not just destroy my entire career." Nathan finished buttoning his shirt and met her eyes directly. "We did." The memory gap Victoria felt the blood drain from her face. She clutched the expensive sheet to her chest, her mind racing through the catastrophic implications. Workplace scandal, potential termination, whispered gossip in the break room, the end of everything she had worked so hard to build. "I need you to tell me everything," she said, forcing her voice to steady. "Nathan, I cannot remember anything after the toast at dinner. There was champagne and dancing and then nothing. Complete darkness. How did we end up here?" He studied her face with an intensity that made her feel exposed. "You truly remember nothing?" "Nothing," she confirmed, her hands trembling slightly. "The last clear memory I have is talking to Jennifer from marketing about the quarterly projections. Everything after 9 o'clock is just gone." Nathan stood up, retrieving his jacket from where it lay folded on her dresser. He moved with careful deliberation, as though choosing each action with purpose. "Maybe it's better this way." "Better?" Victoria's voice cracked. "How is any of this better? I need to know what happened. I need to know what I did, what I said." The mysterious departure he walked toward her bedroom door, then paused with his hand on the frame. When he turned back to look at her, his expression held something she could not quite identify. Sadness? Regret? Or something else entirely? "The memories will return, Victoria," he said quietly. "They always do. When they come back, you'll understand why I cannot just tell you. You cannot be serious right now." Victoria scrambled out of bed, momentarily forgetting her state of undress until she caught sight of herself in the full-length mirror. She grabbed her robe from the hook and wrapped it around herself quickly, then followed him down the hallway. "Nathan, please. You cannot drop this bomb and then just leave." He stopped at her front door, turning to face her one final time. In the harsh morning light, she could see the faint lines around his eyes, the serious set of his mouth. He looked different outside the office context, more human and vulnerable despite his composed demeanor. "Monday morning," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "Executive meeting at 8:30. Try not to be late." Then he was gone, leaving Victoria standing alone in her apartment with a splitting headache, 1,000 unanswered questions, and a disturbing realization that part of her did not want him to leave at all. The desperate search the moment the door closed. Victoria ran to her purse. Her phone revealed nothing unusual, just a few blurry photos of the gala's decorations and one picture of her laughing with colleagues. She opened every app, checked every message, desperate for any clue. Then she found it. Tucked into the inner pocket of her purse was a folded piece of hotel stationery. Her hand shook as she unfolded it. The handwriting was unmistakably hers, though messier than usual. "Nathan, if I forget tonight, please remind me. What I said was true. Every word." Victoria stared at the note, her heart pounding. What had she said? What truth had she spoken that she could not remember? Victoria arrived at the office 15 minutes early on Monday morning, her stomach twisted into knots that would have impressed a sailor. She had spent the entire weekend replaying the note in her mind, trying to force her brain to remember what truth she had spoken. The words mocked her from where she had taped them to her bathroom mirror, a constant reminder of the gap in her memory that refused to fill itself. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt longer than usual. Each passing floor marker felt like a countdown to her professional doom. When the doors finally opened, she stepped into the familiar hallway with its polished marble floors and modern art installations. But everything felt different now, changed. She could not look at the sleek conference room without wondering what had happened between her and Nathan, her assistant. Claire greeted her with a cheerful smile that Victoria struggled to return. "Good morning, Miss Bennett. You have the executive meeting in 20 minutes, and your coffee is already on your desk. Also, there's a package that arrived for you this morning." The first message, Victoria's heart skipped. A package? Yes. No return address. It was marked personal, so I left it unopened in your office. The box sat in the center of her desk, wrapped in simple brown paper. Victoria closed her office door before approaching it, her hands trembling slightly as she tore away the wrapping. Inside was a small velvet jewelry box, and beneath it, a card. She opened the card first. Nathan's distinctive handwriting filled the small space. "You wore this in your hair. You said it made you feel beautiful. You were wrong. You are always beautiful." Victoria's breath caught. She opened the velvet box to find a delicate silver hairpin shaped like a cherry blossom, tiny diamonds catching the light. She had no memory of wearing it, no memory of the conversation he referenced. The gap in her memory felt like a physical wound. The tense meeting, the executive meeting, was torture. Nathan sat at the head of the conference table, his expression professionally neutral as he discussed quarterly earnings and strategic initiatives. Victoria tried to focus on the presentations, on the graphs and projections, but her attention kept drifting to him. Did anyone else notice the way his eyes occasionally found hers? Could the other executives sense the tension crackling between them like electricity? When he asked for her marketing report, Victoria stood on shaking legs and delivered her presentation. Her voice remained steady through sheer force of will, even as her mind screamed at her to remember what had happened between them.
"Excellent work,
Miss Bennett," Nathan said when she finished, his tone perfectly professional. But his eyes held something more, a warmth that made her feel like they were the only two people in the room. After the meeting ended, Victoria returned to her office to find another note slipped under her door. This time, it was a single sentence in Nathan's handwriting. He told me about the stars. Fragments returning that afternoon during a client presentation had happened. Victoria was explaining their new advertising campaign when a memory fragment suddenly flashed through her mind. She was standing on a balcony, cool night air on her skin, and Nathan was beside her. She was pointing at the sky, talking about constellations her father had taught her as a child. The memory disappeared as quickly as it came, leaving her momentarily disoriented. She stumbled over her words, then recovered. But her hands were shaking when she returned to her seat. More notes arrived throughout the week. Each one contained a cryptic reference to something she had apparently said or done at the gala. You laughed when I spilled champagne on my tie. You said it made me seem human. You told me about your dreams. Not the career ones. The real ones. You asked me to dance? I said yes. Each note triggered tiny fragments of memory. A flash of music. The feeling of a strong hand at her waist. The scent of his cologne mixed with champagne, but nothing complete. Nothing that explained the note she had written herself. The phone recording on Friday afternoon. Victoria found Nathan waiting by her car in the parking garage. Her heart jumped at the sight of him leaning casually against the concrete pillar. His tie loosened and his jacket slung over one shoulder. We need to talk, he said simply. I have been trying to talk to you all week, Victoria replied, her frustration finally breaking through her professional composure. You have been leaving me these cryptic notes like some kind of romantic scavenger hunt, but you will not actually tell me what happened. Get in your car, Nathan said. I will show you something. They sat in her car with the engine off, the silence heavy between them. Nathan pulled out his phone, scrolling through something before finally turning the screen toward her. You asked me to record this, he said quietly. You were afraid you might forget. You made me promise to show you, only when you were ready. Victoria's hand trembled as she took the phone. She pressed play. The recorded confession, her own voice filled the car, slightly slurred but unmistakably sincere. Nathan, I need to say this now, because I might not have the courage tomorrow. I have been in love with you for 8 months. Not the professional admiration kind of love, the real kind. The kind that makes me rehearse conversations with you in the shower. The kind that makes Monday meetings the highlight of my week because I get to sit across from you. Victoria's breath stopped. On the recording, she continued talking. I know this is probably career suicide. I know we work together and there are rules and professional boundaries and 1,000 reasons why this is a terrible idea. But tonight, right now, I do not care about any of that. I just need you to know that you are not just my boss. You are the person I think about when I wake up. You are the reason I wear my good suits. You are the one I want to tell when something good happens. There was a pause in the recording, then Nathan's voice. Victoria, you are going to remember this conversation tomorrow. Maybe her recorded voice replied. Or maybe I will wake up and forget the most honest moment of my life. If I do, promise me something. Promise me you will remind me. Not immediately, but slowly. Let me remember on my own, but give me clues. Help me find my way back to this feeling. Why? Nathan's recorded voice asked. Because if you just tell me, I might not believe it. I might think I said it because of the champagne or the romantic atmosphere or temporary insanity. But if I remember it myself, I will know it was real. The recording ended. The truth revealed. Victoria sat in stunned silence, the phone still in her hand. Tears were streaming down her face without her permission. The memories were flooding back now, not in fragments but in full, vivid detail. The balcony conversation. The dancing. The way Nathan had looked at her when she finished her confession. The gentle kiss they had shared under the stars. I drove you home, Nathan said softly. You fell asleep in the car. I carried you to your apartment, made sure you were safe. I changed you into that nightgown because your dress had champagne on it. Then I fell asleep in your chair, watching over you. When I woke up at dawn, you looked cold, so I lay down beside you to keep you warm. That is when you woke. We did not actually sleep together, Victoria whispered. No, Nathan confirmed. I would never take advantage of you like that. But everything you said on that recording was true. And everything I am about to tell you is equally true. He took her hand, his touch warm and steady. I have been in love with you since the day you challenged my decision in front of the entire board and turned out to be completely right. I have been fighting it because I am your boss, and I did not want to put you in an impossible position. But that night, when you told me how you felt, I realized I was being a coward. Victoria's heart was racing so fast, she thought it might escape her chest entirely. What are we going to do? That depends on you, Nathan said. I can transfer to our London office. We can keep this completely professional. Or we can figure this out together, properly. With human resources involved and everything done by the book. The choice made. Victoria looked at the man beside her, the man she had been in love with for 8 months. The man who had spent a week helping her remember her own truth. She thought about the rules, the complications, and the risks. Then she thought about the recording, about the raw honesty in her own voice, about the feeling of his hand in hers. I want to figure it out together, she said, properly. Nathan's smile was like sunrise breaking through clouds. Then we start Monday with a meeting with human resources. We do this right. Can I ask you something? Victoria said. Why did you really make me remember on my own? The truth. Nathan's expression grew serious. Because I needed you to know that what you felt was not just champagne courage. I needed you to rediscover those feelings sober, in the harsh light of day, with all your professional judgment intact. I needed you to choose this, choose us, with complete clarity. Victoria leaned across the console and kissed him, properly this time, with full memory and conscious choice. When they broke apart, she was smiling. Thank you for the notes, she whispered. Thank you for the patience. Thank you for believing I would remember. I would have waited forever, Nathan replied. Some truths are worth remembering. Monday morning arrived with crystalline clarity. Victoria dressed with extra care, choosing a navy suit that made her feel confident and professional. Today was not about romance or stolen moments. Today was about doing things properly, protecting both their careers and their newfound relationship. Nathan was already waiting outside the Human Resources office when she arrived. He looked as nervous as she felt, his usual unshakable composure slightly cracked around the edges. They exchanged a small smile before entering together. Patricia Chen, the head of Human Resources, greeted them with a knowing expression that suggested she had seen this situation before. Please, sit down. I understand you both have something to discuss with me. Nathan took the lead, his voice steady and professional. Patricia, Victoria, and I have developed feelings for each other outside of work. We want to disclose this relationship immediately and discuss the appropriate steps to ensure there are no conflicts of interest or concerns about workplace favoritism. Patricia folded her hands on her desk, her expression thoughtful. I appreciate your honesty and your initiative in coming forward. Can you tell me how long this relationship has been developing? Navigating professional waters, Victoria spoke up, her voice clear despite her nerves. We both realized our feelings at the company gala 2 weeks ago. Nothing physical happened between us until we had time to think about the implications and decide to handle this properly. We have not let our personal feelings affect any work decisions. Patricia nodded slowly. The company policy allows relationships between employees, but given the significant power differential between a CEO and a senior manager, we need to implement certain safeguards. Nathan, you will no longer be Victoria's direct supervisor. She will report to Thomas Hayes, our Chief Operating Officer. All performance reviews, salary decisions, and promotion considerations for Victoria will go through Thomas with board oversight. Nathan nodded. That is more than fair. I want to ensure Victoria's career advancement is based purely on her merits, not our relationship. Additionally, Patricia continued, you will both need to sign relationship disclosure agreements, and we will need to inform the board of directors. There will be some gossip initially, but if you handle yourselves professionally, it will fade. Victoria felt a weight lift from her shoulders. They were doing this right. No secrets, no scandals. Just two people choosing honesty over convenience. The complete memory that evening. Victoria and Nathan sat in a quiet restaurant across town, far from the office and prying eyes. It was their first official date, though it felt like a continuation of something that had started weeks ago. "The memories are all back now," Victoria said, swirling her wine glass gently. "Every detail from that night. The way the stars looked from the balcony, the song that was playing when we danced. The exact moment I decided to tell you the truth." Nathan reached across the table, taking her hand. "Tell me about that moment. What made you decide?" Victoria closed her eyes, remembering, "You were talking to an investor about quarterly projections, and he was being somewhat aggressive in his questioning. You stayed calm, answered every concern with patience and data, never losing your composure. But then his wife came over and mentioned their daughter had just gotten into college, and your entire face changed. You lit up, genuinely happy for someone else's success. That is when I knew." "Knew what?" Nathan asked softly. "That you were not just a brilliant businessman. You were a good person. The kind of person worth taking risks for." Facing the office the next few weeks tested their resolve. The announcement of their relationship spread through the office like wildfire. Some colleagues were supportive, others skeptical, and a few openly resentful. Victoria heard the whispers in the break room, saw the speculative glances during meetings. The hardest moment came during a project presentation when Derek from finance made a snide comment. "Must be nice to have connections at the top. Some of us have to earn our promotions the hard way." Victoria felt her face flush, but before she could respond, Thomas Hayes stepped in. Victoria earned her position through 3 years of exceptional performance and innovative campaigns that increased our revenue by 40%. Her relationship with Nathan was disclosed properly, and her reporting structure has been changed to eliminate any conflict. If anyone has concerns about favoritism, they can review her performance metrics, which I am happy to provide. The room fell silent. Derek mumbled an apology. After the meeting, Thomas pulled Victoria aside. "You are going to face more of that. Some people will always assume you did not earn your place. Prove them wrong by being better than everyone else." "I already was planning on it," Victoria replied with a small smile, the risk and reward 3 months into their relationship. Victoria and Nathan found their rhythm. They kept their interactions professional at work, never showing favoritism or engaging in public displays of affection. But outside the office, they built something real and lasting. Nathan took her to art galleries and introduced her to his love of classical music. Victoria dragged him to hiking trails and taught him about the constellations her father had shown her as a child. They learned each other's quirks and habits, the small details that transform attraction into deep love. One evening, sitting on her apartment balcony under the same stars where she had first confessed her feelings, Nathan turned to her with unusual seriousness. "I have been offered a position," he said carefully. "CEO of our European division. It would mean relocating to London for at least 2 years. Victoria's heart sank. "That is an incredible opportunity. I turned it down." "What? Nathan, why would you do that?" He took her hand, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her palm. "Because I have spent my entire life chasing career achievements, and I finally found something more important. You are more important." The choice reaffirmed. Victoria felt tears prick her eyes. "You cannot sacrifice your career for me. I would never forgive myself." "Then come with me," Nathan said simply. "We can open a new office in London. You can head the European marketing division. It would be a promotion, more responsibility, and completely separate from my oversight. We could build something together, both professionally and personally." Victoria stared at him, her mind racing. London, a new position, a chance to prove herself on an international stage. And Nathan, by her side, through it all. "Are you sure?" she whispered. "This is moving fast. We have only been together a few months." Nathan smiled, the same gentle smile that had made her fall in love with him. "I have been sure since the night you told me about the stars. I have been sure since the morning I woke up beside you and saw the same certainty in your eyes, even through the panic. Some things you just know, Victoria." She thought about the note she had written herself. What I said was true. Every word. She had asked Nathan to help her remember, because deep down, even drunk and scared of forgetting, she had known this was real. "Yes," she said, her voice strong and clear. "Let us go to London. Let us build something amazing together. The new beginning. 6 months later, Victoria stood in a modern London office, looking out over the Thames. The European division was thriving under their combined leadership. She had earned the respect of her new team through hard work and innovative strategies that had exceeded every projection. Nathan appeared in her doorway, 2 cups of coffee in hand. Ready for the investor meeting? Always, Victoria replied, accepting the coffee with a grateful smile as they walked to the conference room together. She thought about the night that had changed everything. The party she could not remember. The truth she had almost lost. The man who had patiently helped her rediscover her own feelings. Some people said workplace romances were risky, that mixing professional and personal life was asking for disaster. But Victoria knew better. Love, real love, was about finding someone who believed in you enough to let you choose them freely. It was about building something together that made both people stronger. That night on her balcony, drunk on champagne and courage, she had spoken a truth her sober self was afraid to acknowledge. Nathan had not just remembered it for her. He had given her the gift of remembering it herself, of choosing him with complete clarity and conscious intent. She had lost her memory of the party. But in remembering, in piecing together the fragments Nathan had left her, she had found something far more valuable. She had found love that was worth the risk, worth the gossip, worth every challenge they would face. As they entered the conference room side by side, equal partners in business and in life, Victoria smiled. Some memories were worth forgetting, if only to experience the joy of remembering them again. And some truths, once spoken, could never really be forgotten. They lived in the careful notes of a patient man, the fragments of a night under the stars, and the choice to people made to build something beautiful together. This was not the ending. It was just the beginning of their never-ending story.